Hello, my name is Natasha Alfonso Ahmed. I am a principal planner with Arlington County and the project manager for the Lee Highway Planning Study, also known as Plan Lee Highway. The county is currently in phase 2 of the planning study. In collaboration with the county, AECOM, the planning consultant, has completed the land use scenario analysis for the neighborhood areas along the corridor. Information about the process, including why we are studying Lee Highway, as well as the corridor-wide and neighborhood area concepts, can be found on the project website. This narrated presentation is an overview of the process and project update. The purpose of this study is to develop a comprehensive, high-level vision for the corridor that guides long-term public and private investment. The plan will build off the work from the visioning study in 2016. It will provide a vision for redevelopment with goals and recommendations around 9 key planning elements, including land use, building height and form, open space, and transportation and connectivity improvements for the corridor. The plan will also identify implementation tools to help realize the vision. The goal of the plan is to create a renewed sense of place, improve walkability, promote and strengthen the thriving businesses, and recognize the historically significant community resources found within the Lee Highway corridor. The planning study will take into account the county's 11 comprehensive plan elements and respective policies and goals. It will address environmental sustainability and resiliency and help the corridor adapt to climate change by providing recommendations for managing stormwater, reducing energy demand in buildings, increasing mass transit and walkability, protecting our natural resources, and enhancing our tree canopy. It will also address Vision Zero, a countywide goal to achieve zero fatalities and serious injuries through improved roadway design that protects pedestrians and bicyclists. The planning study will identify ways to incorporate multimodal transportation systems and a diverse housing supply that enables equitable access for people of all races, ages, and income levels. The planning study will also identify opportunities for creating new public spaces along the corridor and incorporating public art for placemaking and to celebrate the history of the corridor. The planning team will partner and coordinate with concurrent county planning processes and other agencies to create an achievable plan with goals that can be implemented. This study will result in a county board adopted plan that establishes a high-level framework for the corridor. The plan will identify improvements and community benefits that would be needed from new development, which may include sidewalk improvements, undergrounding of utilities, new or improved roadways, creating new publicly accessible gathering spaces, and stormwater management. It will also identify public projects that should be included in the capital improvement plan to support private development and manage growth. The plan will recommend areas that are appropriate for increased height and density to provide an incentive for developers to contribute the needed improvements, community benefits, and other aspirational goals like affordable housing and sustainable and energy efficient buildings. Lastly, the plan will identify land use and zoning changes with clear policies and goals that will be needed to achieve the vision and provide predictable development outcomes. Changes to the General Land Use Plan, or the GLUP, and zoning ordinance will be considered through a separate implementation process after the Lee Highway Plan is adopted. The county will update the GLUP to guide public and private investment. However, it will not rezone private properties without a request from the property owner. The planning study has multiple phases. Phase 1 was completed in August of 2020. 3 main deliverables were produced in Phase 1. The Existing Conditions Analysis Report, the Historic and Cultural Resources Report, and the Neighborhood Inspiration, a guide for developing future plans. The Existing Conditions Analysis is an analysis of the physical, historical, and qualitative attributes of each neighborhood area. This report is focused on identifying the key aspects that will influence the planning of the area, the high-level challenges in addressing community preferences and priorities, and the area's potential to meet the planning goals. The Historic and Cultural Resources Report includes research, documentation, and survey of historic and cultural resources in the planning area. The Neighborhood Inspiration Report highlights the conditions and attributes of different neighborhoods along Lee Highway. It provides a summary of the community feedback received to date and guiding ideas for the scenarios. You can access these documents by clicking on the links in this slide or by visiting the project webpage. The county is currently in Phase 2. The team has conducted interviews with property owners along the corridor to understand their short and long-term plans while working to develop a bold vision for the corridor and land use scenarios that will help visualize different options for the neighborhood areas. 3 deliverables will be completed in Phase 2. The draft bold vision, the land use scenario analysis, and the preliminary concept plan. The bold vision is a draft vision statement that focuses on tomorrow and provides direction on what Lee Highway should ultimately become. It's aspirational and identifies the problems we want to solve and what we are inspiring to change. The land use scenario analysis provides preliminary ideas for development scenarios with various land use mixes and intensities within the core study area and residential edges. It also provides recommendations for open spaces and street and transit improvements. The scenarios are informed by the previous work in Phase 1, including the neighborhood analysis, the neighborhood aspirations, and guiding ideas in the Neighborhood Inspiration Report. The 2016 vision study ideas were also evaluated to understand the viability of the previously proposed recommendations. The preliminary recommendations from the land use scenario analysis will be refined and augmented to include transportation strategies that will be based on future conditions and projected corridor growth. A preferred scenario will be selected based on the community feedback on the scenario analysis to prepare a preliminary concept plan that will include a refined set of vision principles and goals for the key planning elements and an assessment of the outcomes and impacts. Gathering community input is a critical part of determining which land use scenarios are most viable. In April and May, a series of virtual neighborhood meetings will be held to share the bold vision and preliminary ideas in the land use scenario analysis. The county will be posting the presentation materials on the project website along with a survey for the community to provide feedback online, which will be available for several weeks after the meetings. Feedback on the preliminary ideas will be used to synthesize the land use scenarios and develop the preliminary concept plan for the corridor, which staff anticipates beginning in May. In the fall, a second series of virtual neighborhood meetings will be held to present the preliminary concept plan and gather additional community feedback. This will conclude Phase 2. The county anticipates completing Phase 3, which is the final review of the plan, and Phase 4, the adoption of the plan, in the first quarter of 2022. This is a list of the upcoming neighborhood meetings by area. In addition to the planning study, the county has commissioned artist Liz Nguyen to create a dynamic zine that brings the history, stories, and character of the Lee Highway Corridor to life visually through art. Zines are an accessible and powerful medium to narrate and circulate stories and information through images and text. The zine will create a lasting collection of the rich history and character of the Lee Highway Corridor, connecting the community with the past and the present while creating dialogue about a future vision for the corridor. The county expects to release the zines in the summer of 2021. Thank you for watching our presentation. More information can be found on the project website, where you can learn more about the upcoming meetings and obtain additional information.